Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Look, if you manage, design, or procure for commercial spaces, you already know the stakes are just higher than ever right now. Today's commercial interiors carry a really massive responsibility. They have to inform, they have to direct, inspire, and reinforce brand identity. And they have to do all of that without interrupting daily operations. It is an incredibly tough balancing act. But as experts in the space, we're going to break down the technology that is fundamentally rewriting the rules of interior graphics.
Okay, let's jump right in with a question we find ourselves asking constantly. Why do modern commercial spaces still rely on outdated adhesives? Seriously, think about traditional vinyl wall coverings, wallpaper, or those really heavy architectural upgrades. Aside from the inevitable peeling edges that literally drive everyone crazy, what do they all have in common? They create costs, they create material waste, and, worst of all, downtime. It's just a friction-heavy process for facilities that are otherwise trying to move fast.
We are looking at a massive paradigm shift here. Think about the absolute headache of traditional fabrication. Off-site panels, crazy shipping delays, those peeling seams, bubbling vinyl, and just so much material waste. But then, you look at the evolutionary leap, direct to wall. We're talking flush integration, instant cure inks, on-site execution, and graphics that are completely seamless. It's a total shift away from the clumsy old way of just sticking things to a wall and moving toward executing directly on the built environment itself. So what exactly is the alternative, right? Well, direct-to-wall printing is a field-proven leap way beyond adhesive films and paper. Instead of fabricating these panels off-site and gluing them up, a precision wall printer brings the image directly to the wall. It utilizes high-resolution printheads and instant-cure inks to create a seamless, super long-wearing graphic directly on the substrate. It completely bypasses panels, release liners, and adhesives entirely. The graphic literally sits flush, preserving your architecture rather than just covering it up. To really wrap our heads around this shift, we're going to evaluate 5 critical operational pillars. First, the wall printing evolution. Second, speed without facility disruption. Third, architectural scale and consistency. Fourth, integrated smart wayfinding. And finally, sustainable lifecycle cost savings.
Let's start with Pillar 1, the wall printing evolution, beyond vinyl.
This is where we actually close the gap between your initial design intent and the built reality. One of the biggest hurdles with traditional vinyl wall is site readiness. But direct-to-wall technology prints flawlessly across incredibly varied reliefs. We can print directly onto painted or primed drywall, CMU block, concrete, brick, plaster, even sealed wood. What this means in practice is that materials like brick and CMU actually retain their natural texture. The graphics conform visually to the surface, which honestly enhances the architectural character of your space rather than just masking it behind some flat board.
Moving right along to Pillar 2, speed without facility disruption, operational agility. Now, for active healthcare floors, or say busy university campuses, schedule certainty is literally everything, which brings us to a really important number, 5. That is the number of hours it typically takes to complete a standard feature wall using direct-to-wall technology. Less than 5 hours. Because these systems are designed specifically for occupied buildings, you aren't sidelining your revenue-generating spaces for days on end. I mean, a conference room can be printed in the morning and be right back in use that exact same afternoon. How do we get it done that fast? It's achieved through a highly systematic 4-step workflow. First, site readiness and check-in. This confirms wall conditions and power without tying up your facility staff. Second, layout and alignment. We use calibrated positioning so the artwork registers precisely to architectural corners and fixtures. Third, printing and instant cure. The system applies and cures the ink on contact, which means absolutely zero odors and no lengthy dry times. And fourth, quality review and cleanup. Since prints are produced right there in place, there's no panel staging, no adhesive activation, and the work zones stay compact and mobile. It's an incredibly low-disruption approach.
Okay, Pillar 3, architectural scale and consistency, design integrity.
When you're managing multi-location rollouts, your brand stories absolutely demand photographic clarity. A resolution of 100 to 150 ppi at final size typically renders stunning photoreal detail at normal viewing distances for feature walls. And because it's printed straight to the wall, you get seam-free continuity. Artwork flows seamlessly across long runs without any tiling or step seams, delivering crisp edges and smooth gradients from edge to edge. It honestly looks like curated environmental art, not applied signage. But here's the real challenge. How do you guarantee that 100 to 150 ppi photoreal detail looks exactly the same in a flagship headquarters as it does in a regional clinic? You need a rollout framework. These robust enterprise program components are the key to the whole shebang. Centralized asset libraries as a single source of truth, pre-flight templates to reduce rework, site readiness checklists, strict color verification using ICC profiled workflows to lock in those brand critical tones, and scheduling playbooks to maximize labor efficiency. This framework completely removes the friction from multi-site projects. On to Pillar 4, integrated smart wayfinding, functional integration. Because walls aren't just for art, right? They are highly functional tools. Facilities constantly wrestle with sign proliferation, temporary notices, overhead boards, arrows just kind of accumulating over time. Direct-to-wall printing embeds these cues directly into the architecture itself. You can use zone-based color fields to guide users without needing any overhead signs. You can integrate large-scale directional systems that are visible from way down the hall. You can pair iconography with multilingual support. You can even print point-of-use instructional fields right where they are needed, like lab prep areas or patient check-ins. It acts as permanent professional architecture rather than a temporary notice, which significantly reduces visual clutter.
Finally, Pillar 5, sustainable lifecycle cost savings, the bottom line.
Now let's pivot from aesthetics to some cold, hard operational metrics, like total cost of ownership. Environmental performance is a major procurement requirement nowadays. Direct-to-wall printing removes landfill-bound waste streams right at the source. There is zero vinyl waste, zero release liners. Adhesive-backed films inevitably create trim waste and discarded outdated panels. By producing directly on site, you are radically cutting freight-related impacts and the embodied energy of multiple fabrication cycles. You're right-sizing the solution, applying high-impact graphics exactly where they're needed without blanketing whole corridors and substrate.
When you actually map this out across a facility's life cycle, the savings really start to multiply. During installation, completing walls in under 5 hours eliminates extended after-hours premiums, and with no substrate, you completely avoid material markups and rush fees. For maintenance, the Instant Cure inks create a highly durable surface that is totally cleanable with approved methods, no special chemicals required. And at end of life, well, when a tenant turns over, the wall is already paint-over ready. You just prime and repaint. No demolition, no scraping, no waste. So for you operations managers out there looking to implement this across a whole portfolio, here is our consultative playbook for budgeting. First, start with a pilot to validate color and logistics in a representative area. Then define your standards. Lock in those templates and cleaning protocols. Next, schedule your refreshes strategically to avoid any capital spikes. And finally, measure the impact by tracking install times and maintenance tickets. This predictable system really reduces points of failure. To kind of sum up our core philosophy in this explainer, the best custom wall printing services aligned design ambition with operational realities. It's really all about achieving speed without downtime, brand fidelity without seams, durability without overmaintenance, and sustainability without complexity. So I will leave you with this final thought to chew on for your own portfolio. Is your facility ready to evolve past adhesives and friction to embrace modern, lifecycle efficient solutions? The technology is here, it is proven, and it is absolutely reshaping how we build commercial interiors. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this gives you the expert insights you need for your next commercial upgrade.